All right, welcome everybody to the One Amazing Youth Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Chris. I am here with my other co-host. His name is
Jamie, right here.
That's right. Hey, Jamie, I'm stoked today, man. We're talking about Lent, right? We're gonna dive into a Lent episode on Lent Day.
It's not that stuff that's in the dryer, or in your pocket. That's not the kind of Lent we're talking about.
Oh, I thought we were going on that kind of. What kind of Lent are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about the L-E-N-T, not the L-I-N-T.
Oh,
I think I spelled that right. Ezra,
perfect.
am I good?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. We're good.
Well, cool. Well, let's get started with our Lent episode. Right before we get started, if you're new to the show, we want to welcome you. Let you know this is a podcast for teens by teens. And so we're talking about stuff that not only teens and young adults go through, but today we're going to kind of take a perspective. We have three amazing guests in our studio today. I'm excited to introduce them and get this show started. But, this show is for everybody. So we encourage everybody to listen, and we just welcome you and thank you for checking us out. So that's it, right? Let's go. I'm going to start with my right. I'm going to introduce
Ezra.
Ezra, how old are you?
I'm 16.
All right. And what's your favorite sport?
Basketball, because I play it, and I think it's the most interesting to watch. It's my opinion.
Okay, nice. All right, shout out to Ezra. Thanks for being on the show, brother. And to his right, we have
Matt.
Matt, how old are you?
I'm also 16.
Okay, nice. Is your voice just changing? Are you going through puberty?
I guess again.
Okay, cool. That's good to know, man.
Hey, I'm 40, and it happens to me, too.
Does it?
It
Okay.
really does, yeah.
All right, cool. Matt, tell us, what's your favorite subject in school right now?
I like my free period.
Yeah, I bet you do, man. I expecting you to say recess, so I guess I'll take something that's still where you're actually still at school. That's impressive. All right, cool. Jamie, and then who is to your right?
Kai.
Nice. Kai, you've been on the show before, haven't you?
Yeah, I think once before.
Yeah, you have. I know. You're awesome. Hey, how old are you, Kai?
I'm 16.
Okay, nice. And tell us, man, what's your favorite hobby?
I really like to skate and surf. Probably surf better though, because there's very less consequences if you fall. So,
Also, but what about sharks, brother? I mean, you know what I mean?
I've never encountered a shark, I hope
hopefully you
not
never
to.
will.
Yeah.
All right, well, good. Don't forget, always keep an eye out, though. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. I like surfing, too. And as always, we do definitely want to give a shout-out to our producer, Patrick. Without him, this show and God is not possible. So we appreciate all the hard work behind the scenes and everything he does for us. So thanks, Pat. We appreciate it. All right, man. Hey, you guys ready? Let's just jump into the show. So I want Jamie to kind of give us a little background on Lent. He's probably the more theologian one of all of us. Is that the right word?
Yeah, I went to school for it, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, so
there's something in there. Yeah,
there's
you
something
don't
in there.
remember everything from school, right, guys?
Not
they're
at all.
shaking
I
their
don't
heads.
remember
no.
stuff from last week.
Well, let me give you a little scene. Like right now, we're all sitting around a table, and all of us have some marks on our foreheads, and it's just a little shape of the cross with ashes. And so, in a lot of Christian faiths, there's this season of Lent, which comes from a word for springtime. It has to do with the season, and it's as we approach Easter. Which is a big deal in the Christian faith when Jesus rises from the dead. So as we approach that, kind of this season of journeying to the cross is Lent. And so it starts off with Ash Wednesday. And the idea of it is that we're taking this season of preparation to think about our own spiritual journeys as we go closer to celebrating Jesus. So it's just really a time of reflection. Some people even have used the word a time of penance, where you give something up maybe in order to think more about God, in order to think more about Christ, in order to kind of have a reawakening of your faith. So that's kind of where we're at with it right now. Different people celebrate it in different ways. Some people don't celebrate it at all who are still people of faith. So that's where we're at, and that's the scene today. And we all have these beautiful crosses on our foreheads today. Who has the best looking one? Is there, I think probably our producer, Patrick, does. Pat's got a good looking one.
Yeah, that one's untouched.
Yeah, sometimes they get a little smudged. Sometimes, it all falls off on someone's nose. But
Yeah.
I think, Pat, you're looking pretty good back there.
Also, we just want to make it clear, in case any fans are looking in through the studio windows, that we have crosses on our foreheads for Lent. We are not on our way to a heavy metal concert, because it could be
Who would be playing that? Would that be like a Black Sabbath show or something?
Be like some kind of like Slayer or something. It would be like we're all piling in the church van. We're heading down to see Slayer. That's what's going on. But no, serious. And so basically, also what I'm getting from that, Jamie, in even simpler terms, is it's pretty much like a 40-day. What would be the word, I guess? Like a 40-day, I don't want to say adventure, because that makes it sound like we're kind of cruising through the jungle unabashed, but it's a 40-day opportunity for us to become closer in our relationship with God, our love for Jesus, and to kind of take away something that maybe means a lot to us and replace it with time either with God or something that brings us closer to God. Would you say that sums it up in like a one-sentence type deal?
Yeah, another way to look at it might be a 40-day cleanse.
There you go.
But in a spiritual sense, not as much of a physical sense, more of a spiritual sense. So that's kind of an idea of it. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. All right, cool. Well, you know what? I want to kind of get an idea of what our guests are thinking now too. Because I hear a lot of people like they want to give up for Lent. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to give up, alcohol, or I'm going to give up chocolate," which are both good things to do. But let's dive a little bit deeper. Like, what's something that is like super important to you guys? Let's go first with maybe what you would like to give up, but you don't think you can. How about something like that? And then we'll dive into maybe actually what we're going to set for goals to go forward. So, like, Kai, what's something that, like you'd love to give up for Lent, and in your heart of hearts you would like to do it, but you're like, what, I just don't think I can do it. 40 days is a long time, Chris.
Well, right off the bat, sometimes I'll just go. It would probably be like sweets for me.
Right, amen to that,
I love
brother.
sweets,
The Lord
and
knows.
sometimes I'll just be like, all right, you know what? I've had too much sweets this week. Next week, I'm just gonna relax a little bit. I'm not gonna have as many sweets, and it works. But I don't know about a 40-day stretch. That's gonna be. I mean, I'm gonna try it, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, maybe if it locked me up like Noah, you know what I'm saying, where I don't have any access, but I don't think even for that 40 days, I'd probably find a way to make some kind of giraffe jerky or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I'm curious, how much is too much? You said too much. And what is that like? Is that like in pounds or in calories, or what's your measure?
I'll get into a bin of ice cream, and I'll find the bottom. I'll just say that.
Get into a bit of that. To me, that means like you're sneaking like 1 or 2 bites around 3 o'clock in the morning. I know when you're saying that, man. I just picture you like laying around on the couch with a tub of like the half-gallon one. Like the 3 flavors. You serve for like parties of like 30. Is that what's going down?
I mean,
like a wooden spoon,
maybe
even like a regular spoon.
Maybe not quite that big, but like probably like a half-gallon bin, something like that. Like a little.
He's using the word bin. Now, bin to me is a big.
Anything that's a half-gallon. Let me explain.
I think like one of those
gallon?
rolling trash cans filled with ice cream is a bin to me.
Anything half-gallon is like a problem. Okay, I just want to let you know that if you drink like a half-gallon of water at one time, like you're gonna have some problems, right? If you're drinking like Patrick is holding up like what looks like my laundry container. Evidently, that's a half-gallon as well. So
that's a bin,
not a half.
That's a bit. That's a bit, right? We can almost put you in that, Kai. That's something to think about.
So,
I love it though. At least you're honest. So sweets. I'd love to give them up, but I can't.
I mean, I'm gonna try to, and I think I might be able to, but it's gonna be tough.
Matt, what's something for 40 days that you wish you could give up, but I mean, in all reality, it's probably not going to happen?
I don't know. Most people like when you ask like, what are you giving up for Lent? Like people our age, they'll usually say like soda or candy or whatever.
So easy though.
Yeah, I honestly
Yeah,
I don't know because I feel like both of those things aren't really that big of a deal for me. So it's like I want to find something that's more like actually. I'm not saying those are important, but like something that's a little bit harder, I guess.
Yeah, no,
but I
that's
can't think of anything. I still can't think of anything.
You have a few minutes, so that's why I'm asking. What would you like to give up first that you're not going to? Right, that's kind of what we're looking at. So that's what we're going to start with. Ezra,
something that like I'd kind of want to limit is just my phone time because I feel like if you always get those like screen usage like notifications at the end of the week about like how much phone time you've had like the whole week, and I feel like if you could just cut that down by like maybe like 10%, that'd be like an extra hour every day because like some of us use our phones a lot and just sometimes it's just pointless, and I feel like limiting it could like really open up my day more to more opportunities.
Okay,
that makes sense.
That's mine. I decided.
Yeah.
Oh my
okay. Well,
gosh.
I'm gonna get into that in a second.
We're having a
the second
breakthrough
part.
right
Yeah,
now,
We are.
Chris.
This is great because you guys are all bringing up, and I don't believe any of you, and nothing against you because I love all of you. But I'm just saying, like, you're not convincing me. Like, if this was a sales call, I'd be like, I'm not buying whatever you guys are selling. Okay. But we're gonna get into that, so that's good. Jamie, what about you? What's something honestly that? Because you've had a few Lents in your day so
I
far,
have,
right?
yeah,
So
I have,
mean,
yeah.
like, there's you
For
kind of
sure.
have tested the waters already.
You know, I've done the soda thing before, and maybe 20 years ago or so, I said, hey, I'm not going to drink soda anymore. And so I didn't for 40 days, and I kid you not, I lost 20 pounds. In 40 days, I lost 20 pounds, half pound a day. So I don't know how much soda I was drinking. It was like probably a bin.
I don't either, man. But I feel like
every
you should
day.
have like your own cool like fitness show or something. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
we're wasting your
20
time
more
with
pounds
this.
to go before the fitness show should come in.
All right.
Maybe put 20 pounds of muscle, bulk up or something.
There
No,
you
I've
go.
done that, and that there was something good about that. And so looking forward, for me, it's always what is God actually calling me to give up?
Right.
What is the thing God's telling me to give up? And listening to God in that versus picking something that maybe I feel would be helpful. It's really kind of listening to where God's leading in it. So that's kind of where I've been at. And but your question is, what would be really hard for you to give up? Like,
Yeah.
what would be the big challenge? Man, I drink so much coffee right now.
You do. I've seen
Black
it.
coffee all day long. I'll drink a cup of coffee and go to bed.
Yeah.
At night. I mean, it's ridiculous. So that would be hard, I think. And I haven't even thought about it, but I imagine that would be difficult. Yeah, the caffeine police need to come after me in a hurry, I guess.
I don't know if you need to, use the word police. That means like you're doing something wrong. I mean, like coffee is available to everybody. It's just your self-control. It might seem a little bit, But, I'll be honest, because I'm right there with you guys. And that's kind of it's a great segue to go into the next part we're going to talk about. And that is, what I would like to give up, or what I'm kind of like on the Kai boat over here. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, like I love sweets. I'm a dessertitarian, right? And for those of you that don't know what that means like there are vegetarians, and I'm the dessert version of that, which means I really only eat dessert. That's I try and add in stuff around it, but like if my daily diet, if I had to, instead of having like a balanced meal of like chicken and potatoes, I would rather just go straight for like broccoli and then chocolate cake. Like just so I offset it, because I want to, I don't want to be a total glutton, right? So, but when I look at that, and for those of you that are listening as well, if you don't know my background, but besides being a youth worker, I also am a, clinical addiction specialist. So, I help people in addiction and anxiety and depression, and that goes along with everything, right? Drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, sex, any kind of addictions that people get into, even exercise and things like that. So one of the things that I've learned over time is that you can't just give up something. It just doesn't work. If that was the case, then none of us would be overweight. None of us would have any bad habits. Nobody would smoke. Nobody would drink, right? Like, if that was their problem, because they're like, oh, I'm just going to stop. But there's like the willpower, right, which is kind of, that comes from the head saying, oh, yeah, this is great. This is what I'll do. And then your heart and your bodies go, no, that's not what we're going to do. I don't know who told you that, but nobody asked us if we wanted to vote on that. And so now, so basically what do? We starve ourselves, or whatever the case is, right? Or we go abstinence, and that lasts for a day or two or maybe 3 or 4, and then what happens? Then it comes back with what? A mad rush, right? Like, you've seen, this is why most diets fail or things like that, right? Because people, they go from eating a large amount of food to eating no food, and the body's like, that doesn't work, right? And then when they go back, they're like, right? Ravenous. So let's kind of look at this from a perspective of that we have to include not just like kind of like what Jamie was saying, like where we ask for prayer on which way to go, but also that whatever it is that we're going to replace, we have to have something to fill it in, right? We can't just be like, oh, you know what, God, you'd probably be happy if I gave up Snapchat. Okay, cool. Well, how am I going to fill that, right? Because my hand is going to automatically go in an addictive thing to Snapchat 18 times a day. Even if I normally went 40, and I'm going to think, hey, 18's still good, right? Because I'm cutting it in half. But it's not the promise that I made. Everybody understand? And then here's the problem that really comes in. I don't know if you guys can identify this. We'll go around the circle here in a minute. But what about the shame that comes with that? the broken, it's one thing to like, if I tell Jamie, I'm going to give up sweets for 40 days and I don't tell him why. I could maybe say, oh, I'm trying to lose some weight or that. And he's like, okay, Chris, cool. And then I see him a week later and he's like, hey, how'd it go? And I'm like, well, I only had 2 candy bars this week. And he's my bro, right? So he's going to be like, dude, that's awesome, right? But I'm like making a deal with God, right? If I say, hey, God, I'm going to give up whatever it is, candy or sweets, right? And then I go back a week later, I'm like, hey, God, sorry, right? I mean, God's going to forgive me, but I am going to internalize that. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to internalize and be like, oh, man, I let God down? Like, what's the matter with me, right? Like, he's taking care of me all the time. He's always there for me. Like, talk about a bro, right? And then now I'm like, I couldn't even do sweets for a week. So I think it's important that when we look at the whole process of Lent, right, like, what was he going through for us in this process, right? Like, I mean, there's the whole thing, right? Like, he fasted for 40 days, right? So he was going without anything, not just little on sweets, man. He was like going without nothing, right? So when we look at that, how do you guys handle stuff like that? Like, have you ever broken a promise to God before? Ezra, what about you?
I definitely have. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Sometimes I make it, like, I know how like bad this sounds, but I like make a deal with God with can't remember off the top of my head like something specific, but I'd make a deal with him. I would tell him, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then in return, I'm kind of like expecting something to happen, and when it like doesn't happen, I just say, oh, I guess I kind of feel like God like broke his promise with me, so I'm just gonna like break my promise with him. And how badly it sounds, like it just kind of happens, I feel.
Yeah, amen, right? Thanks for being honest. I mean, I feel I've done the same thing, so I get it. I mean, that's why we're talking about it. That's what this show is about. Like, we're not going to sit here and pretend like we're perfect Christians or we're perfect people. Like, it just doesn't happen, right? And it's that shame, man, that really, it gets into your body and gets into your soul, and it can really create a rift between us and God. And we don't want that to happen, right? So we have to come up with something that we think that not just that we know we can do, because that's not it. We have to rely on God, right? Where's our faith at? Right, Matt, what about you?
There have definitely been times where I'm like, say something that I want to stop doing or something that I want to do better at, like treat people better, just something that I want to stop doing. And then you realize, oh, like I started doing it again, or I started treating people badly, or whatever the thing is. And then you feel the shame. But I think for me, that's like a kind of enforcement to like reinforce her to go harder and like not. Because it's the shame, like, you feel bad about it. So I think for me, it's like, I don't want to ever feel that shame again. So I'm going to, like, try as hard as I can now. It's like, it takes a little bit of, like, trying and failing to eventually succeed. And I think the shame is, like, a actually important part of it.
Yeah. And I agree. I'll come back and address that in a minute because I want to hear from Kai. And Kai, what's your response to that in your relationship as far as, like, making promises with God that you just can't follow through on, or that you don't follow through on?
I feel like the biggest thing for me is if I make a mistake, I'll ask forgiveness to God, right? And so, and then I'm basically kind of expecting myself. I wouldn't necessarily call it a promise to God, but it's almost like an agreement, or like something I'm going to try to do better for God. So it falls along the line of a promise, but that I'll try to do, like, have better behavior, or be more cautious of the things I'm doing that will help me not fall into those same mistakes, or just things like that. And so when those things happen again, then it's kind of like, oh, I guess I'm like not keeping that agreement or that arrangement, or not being true to like what I want for myself to help me improve, to help improve others and stuff like that.
Okay, totally. I get it, man. Now, I want to dig a little bit deeper on this because I really feel like that's what this show is about, and it's our responsibility to our listeners to really give, honestly, what life is really, truly like, right? For anybody that's in the faith-based community, but especially as teens, man. Like, what do you think is a daily sin that you guys commit that every day you could say, hey, you know what, God, I'm sorry about that? I mean, is it lust? Is it maybe language? Is it judgment? Is it gluttony? I mean, I say gluttony like I'm in the Old Testament. I mean, is it overeating, or, you know what I mean? Is it wasting food? You know what I mean? Like, glutton, most listeners are like, what's gluttony? Is that a ham thing? Like, no, right? But I mean, like, honestly, what would you guys say on a daily basis is something that every day you're like, man, I can't believe I did that again. Like, I really wish I could stop doing that. Matt, let's start with you.
One that you were saying that stuck out to me was what was it? Judgment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is really big. Like, it just kind of happens. Like, we're all teenagers. We all hang out, and we're kind of negative people. We like to, I guess, people like to put other people down to make themselves feel good, and then it makes you feel good. So it's kind of hard not to. But it's definitely something that you always catch yourself doing. You're like, wow, I should not have done that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a big thing in my age group too. You know what I mean? James could probably say the same thing. I mean, for all of us, I think that's
that for sure.
That's
yeah.
a big one, right? Kai, what about you, man? What's a daily sin you think? Lust, judgment, language?
Probably, I don't really think about this as a sin all the time because I feel like everyone does it a lot, or like it's just, nobody thinks of it as a big deal, but it can become a big deal, and that's probably like lying or like not being truthful. And it can be little things, right? You don't think it matters a lot, but like the thing with lies, I don't know, they build on top of each other. And it's not really something I think about a lot, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably something that would happen.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. I totally agree with that. Ezra, what about you, man? What's something on the daily that you think that you are when you look to God at night in your prayers or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, God, man, you know what? I did it again. That was one of those things. Like,
Usually, like, I know this can sound like kind of like self-centered, but sometimes I feel like I, like, on a daily basis, just the moment I get to school, I just like think about what other people are thinking of me. Like, do I look good today, or like, is my outfit good or something like that? Like, just caring about what other people like think of you and see of you as, and like, it kind of just like overwhelms my mind sometimes, just like what other people like think about me, and if like they're being judgmental or something like that.
no, and that's perfect. You know what I mean? Because that's pretty much the number one thing that I help people at in my substance abuse treatment center. Besides obviously not doing drugs and alcohol, is I tell them, here's the number one thing I want you to do right off the bat: get out of other people's heads, because you don't know what they're thinking about you. And I swear, we have this innate way, it's just as human beings, let alone in faith-based community as well as Christians, but where we think like, oh, I know that guy's thinking about me, right? And the funny part is, if you ask that guy what he's thinking about, you know what he's thinking about? Himself, right? He's like, oh, are you talking to me? I'm like, oh, I thought you were staring me down. You know what I mean? He's like, no, man, I got to get, like, I'm late to pick up my girlfriend from whatever. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, really? That's weird. I could have sworn you were, like, thinking bad things about me, right? And he's like, I don't even know who you are, bro. Yeah. So I think that's cool. Jimmy, what's something for you? I mean,
and also for the record, I just want to point out that Ezra is looking good today.
Yeah, Ezra always is.
So
you know what I mean?
Ezra, I just got to make sure that the listeners at home know that that's just the reality.
Ezra's hair is like perfectly like angel winged around his cross. Did you see that?
That's true, huh?
I mean, it really is, man. The guy's like a vision right now.
Good.
I feel safer with him in the room, I'll be honest with you.
All right, that's right. So for me, you just named the list when you went through them all. I'm like, that's like me before breakfast. I need to eat already. But God's working on me, and the things that He works on me on, there's seasons of time when I focus on different things. And what's interesting and something I've noticed is God is so much good, and our sin and the things that we do end up kind of being, the ones that seem like the biggest deal are the ones that are the opposite of what God is the most of, if that makes sense. So like, God is the most loving. So if we're unloving to other people, that's going to stick out like a sore thumb in the economy of God. And so the real big one, the one that gets me is the one that cuts me deep is when I'm not forgiving of other people. So if someone treated me wrong, someone cuts me off on the freeway, I know it happens
every once in a while.
If someone acts like a jerk out of nowhere and I don't even know who they are, in my head, I'm thinking like, man, I'd love to punch that guy right in the throat right now. That's my go-to in my head, right? I'm not forgiving. The natural response isn't to forgive. And so that's the one that I think I try to be as careful as I can with that, because I know God is the most forgiving, and God forgave us. And in Scripture it says, while we were still in the midst of our own sin, of our own mistakes, that's precisely when God died for us. When God forgave us was right when we were in the middle of being stuck in our own stuff. So God's forgiveness is so overwhelming that whenever I'm not forgiving of other people, it just sticks out.
Yeah. No, and I'll agree with you. Like, I'm right there with you, man. All of them on a daily basis. I'm like, man, you know what I mean? Like, I fall short of the glory of God on a daily basis, But I think, when you become aware of that and then you're able to actually start looking at that, that's really where kind of Lent comes in. It's kind of like our yearly pilgrimage to find out what is it truly that we rely on most instead of God, instead of God's love, right? And things like that. So, I think it's funny because I kind of tricked you guys, but I didn't, on asking you, like, what your biggest sin is, right? And so that would be like a natural answer, right, for you to give up for Lent, right? You could be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to not judge people for 40 days, right? But we know that'll probably last till you wake up tomorrow, right? And then you're going to be like, oh, that could be, you know what I mean? Because if that's the hardest thing, that's something that we can work on in prayer. But what about for like a realistic opportunity? Let's go around the circle and let's go ahead and before we close out the show, let's go ahead because the thing is, we're going to come back on for another show 6 weeks from now or whatever, however long it's going to be, and we're going to view the results and just see how we did, right? Fair enough. Everybody's cool with that, right?
For sure.
I love that idea. We'll get the scorecard out and everything.
Yeah, we'll do Lent 1 and Lent Part 2, right?
There you go.
So, Ezra, you want to go first?
Yeah,
You're
sure.
deep in thought, but I feel like you're ready.
I'm not sure. Could you come back to me?
Okay, we will.
I have a great idea for you, Ezra.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
Boss
How
is
about
coming in.
you let Matt pick out everything you wear and how you do your hair for the entire season of Lent? It's up to him.
Isn't that kind of like making Matt his god? Isn't that weird? Like,
No, he'll just be his stylist.
I'm his fashionista.
He won't even care anymore.
Honestly, like, I could abide with it. I feel
I
like
could abide with that.
I feel like
that.
okay,
I'm
it's
getting
it. So
biblical
can we get that down?
terminology
Like, can we
here.
sign that off on a Bill of Rights?
I feel like
could
I
abide.
have a lot of trust in that whatever he chooses.
There's
Step
some
one,
love.
grow out your hair.
There's some
The
love.
thing
in
about
this.
that,
Okay.
though, is that also puts Matt in a spot because now Matt is responsible for getting a hold of Ezra every day and being like, "Yo, this is what's going to happen."
That's
you know what I mean?
right. That is.
So it's
I
like a
know.
two-part
There's a lot
thing,
of-
so
a lot of things.
Wake up
here.
in the morning, FaceTime, show me your closet. What do we got today? what are we doing?
I mean, I feel like that's a lot. But
I'm
it's
putting a
some-
lot on these guys.
Yeah.
No, Ezra, for real though, man. Well, I mean, what is it? Are you thinking? What do you want to let go of or pick up this season of Lent?
When you're talking about forgiveness, I feel like I don't even have faith in myself that I could do it for 40 days. But I feel like once you get the ball rolling and once you start really thinking about like every time you get mad at someone or something, that if you could forgive and then forget, then you can really just forgive and I guess take it on to bigger things.
You know what? I like that one, Ezra, and I'll tell you, I'm going to throw this in, and it's not anything you have to do, but it's something that you might want. I think might help out, and that is maybe you could, when you get home tonight, set yourself up for a journal, right? Like maybe just put some like a notepad next to your bed or something, and then every night before you go to bed, look back over your day and see, is there anybody that I didn't forgive, and then that way you could cleanse yourself before you go to bed, right? Not just like a symbol, but make it like realistic, right? So it's like, oh, you know what? At 2:00, I forgot about that test or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it now, so that way every day you're cleansed, right? That way you're still making a deal with God, but it's
Yeah.
not like so if you don't wake up, something like that, something to think about, right? But I like it. All right, so Ezra's on the forgiveness tip. Kai?
I think that it's gonna be sweets because it's gonna better myself, and maybe it's something I don't need as much as I probably need God in my life for sure. So
Okay.
I feel like giving that up is a better sacrifice than not having God in the first place. So I think I'm gonna try and
God bless you, brother. Good
Focus.
job on that.
Focus.
There is 14 pieces of cake over in the fridge, and I'm going to give you all 12. The
Oh,
other two are for me.
boy, all
But I'm going to
right.
give you 12 so you can eat them all tonight. Kind of overdo
That's-
it, you know what I mean? Because that way you'll be so sick of it. Maybe I'll get you through the first couple days. You're
There
welcome.
you
by the
go.
way.
There
I
you
think
go.
Fat Tuesday was yesterday.
It
not
was Fat
today.
Tuesday.
Fat
but
Tuesday.
You know what? But we're behind in the time zone, so I feel like we
Okay.
can still maybe squeeze it in, right?
Okay,
You know.
all right.
All right, so Kai, you're going to do sweets.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
don't forget, the key to replacing sweets now for you is to replace it with something else, right? So you might want to ask mom to get you some bananas or maybe some apples, maybe some crackers, right?
All right.
Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its is a good one, right?
Yeah.
And so you have something like when you have that thing, you don't lose your mind and you go for, so you have snacks still, right? You don't get carried
Right.
away. Because you don't want to be
Right.
like the guy that doesn't eat sweets for 3 days and then all of a sudden breaks into your little brother's room, takes all his Easter candy, and then goes, I don't know who took it. Must have been the dog, right? Because
yeah.
then you got to come before God with all that. We don't need that. Right? You don't want that guy. All right. I trust you, but I'm going to be checking in on you. Don't forget, I read eyes. I don't listen to lips.
What about you two? What are you guys?
Hey, you know what? Don't worry about me, right? I'm the host of the show.
all right.
Listen, we're the hosts, man.
Yeah, okay,
we're the hosts.
okay.
We'll get to us in a minute, all right? Don't worry
forget
about
I said
that.
anything.
We got to try and
Funny.
pass it off. You're already feeling guilty, aren't you? All right, Matt. What's it going to be for you, man?
I liked when as we're talking about the phone usage, because when I get home, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get home. I'm gonna do my homework after I have a little bit of like time to watch a show or just kind of like chill out for a minute, and then that turns into like 6 or 7 hours, and then I start my homework at about like 9:30 or 10. And then I don't do all of it, or I do badly on it, and then it leads to stress and bad grades and little time for God. So if we get rid of the phone, it's gonna be able to allow me to do my homework earlier, and then leave more time for God and better grades.
So
and
can we
less
get you to like
stress.
delete like Snapchat, Instagram? Right? What?
The fear in his eyes when you said delete
No, it's a necessity.
Snapchat.
I think it
was
should be
like,
more of like a just kind of don't go on social media or like YouTube or whatever for until I'm done with my homework, because oh my gosh, social media is just a black hole, and so is YouTube.
That's true.
You get sucked in.
You got that, Jamie? What do you got?
Yeah, so here's what's going with me. So, there's something that I actually started this whole process on Tuesday, which was yesterday, figuring out what is it that I want to give up. And it started with, what do I want to take on? What is something that's missing that I really have looked forward to and have loved? And a big thing for me is having deep, life-giving conversations with good friends. I'm talking, one person sitting down at the table and really kind of what we're doing here, but having an opportunity for that daily. And so to make room for that, the thing that I want to get rid of or lessen is, like Ezra was saying, the black hole of TV. Because I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have YouTube TV. I've got like all the stuff at home, which means I can watch TV endlessly without stopping perpetually anytime I want, anywhere I want. And
make it easy
my
on you
mom
now.
doesn't
It's not
live
your
with me,
fault. Yeah.
so she's not going to tell me to put down my phone. I can do it whenever I want, and so what that means is for me, the thing that I have to do is choose to have those life-giving conversations rather than doing the TV. I'll give you a great example of that happening. Last night, my wife and I were going to watch a show on TV, and I said, you know what? Instead, why don't we go out? We have a little front porch and a little like fire pit on it. I'm like, let's just go fire up the fire pit, and we'll just go sit out there and we'll talk with each other instead of mindlessly staring at a TV. So we spent about 40 minutes, about the time of watching one episode or whatever, and we just had a great conversation together. So life-giving, so much better than watching the TV show. And so I'm finding some delight in that. So that's going to be my thing. And Chris, I'm curious, what's yours going to be?
And what is mine going to be? Everybody wants to know. Well, I'm going to end the show strong. You guys are ready for this, man, because you guys aren't going to believe this. I'm going to give up punk rock for Lent.
I can't believe this.
You mean like the music?
Yeah.
Oh.
or
right.
the attitude? Are you going to give up the attitude?
I
or
won't
just...
give up the attitude.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
But I am going to give up the music. And if you know me, I mean, let's put it this way. I have a book. It's called Prayers, Punk Rock, and Pastry, right? Those are my daily 3 things. So,
Okay.
And it is possible for Christians to be punk rockers as well. Just I want to get that clear out there. So it's the love of music. But I have not gone without listening to punk rock in decades.
Wow.
And it's like it's everything, right? I wake up, I get in the car. What do? Man, I crank punk rock, right? Because I love it. It gets me started, right? Fires me up. I get done with work, whatever. I'm driving home. I'm playing punk rock. I'm doing this. That's my air, kind of. You know what I mean? But I also feel that like it doesn't take me away from God, but I definitely need some more quiet time. And that's the only, and the thing is, I want to give up something that I love the most, right? Like I love sweets, and I probably know that I can't make it 40 days on that because, well, my birthday's coming up, and I'm not gonna, that's a risky one. You know what I mean? Like maybe some other time of the year, but not now. So, but the thing also is that music means more to me than even desserts do, right? So that's my challenge. 40 days, I'm not going to be cranking any of the usual Rancid or Dropkick Murphys or it's going to be out of control. I don't even know. You guys might not see me next week. I don't know. I might be locked up in a straitjacket somewhere in Bellevue. But that's what I'm going to do, right? And I'm going to spend that time in my car listening to praise music, right? So, I'm going to fill my music instead of with, aggressive, angry punk rock with spiritual music, right? So, I don't know. If in 40 days from now, I'm like, if I ever hear another Hillsong, like, shoot me. You know what I mean? I don't know, right? King and country, nothing personal, you guys. But I don't know. I can only handle so much. You know what I mean? So, anyway. All right. Listen, I want to thank you guys for a great show, man. This was we went deep on this one. I love this show.
Jumped right in.
This was great. So,
good,
I want to
Chris.
thank Ezra. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Kai for being our guests on the show. Once again, I want to thank my co-host Jamie for always being here with me.
As always.
And our producer Pat, thanks for tuning in. Hey, listen, we love all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in to our show. God bless you all, and we'll talk to you again next week.